got their first win in the bubble over Memphis. Solid victory, good performance, and get their dauber up, get their heads up, and get ready for a back-to-back starting with Sacramento tomorrow in a situation where they find themselves very much in the mix to make the playoffs. Joining us now, the gentleman that does a terrific job as the color analyst for the New Orleans Pelicans for Fox Sports Southwest, and of course, former player in New Orleans and in the NBA for many years, and always a very positive, good man, Antonio Daniels. Great to have you with us, Antonio, and hey, I'm glad that we saw a win too. That was a pleasant sight, wasn't it?
Yes, it was, especially after you got off to the wrong start, letting the one against Utah get away, and then that Clipper game got out of hand quickly. So when you have a young team that's inexperienced, a win also it helps so much as far as confidence is concerned moving forward for these next 6 games. 5
Well,
games.
it certainly does. And when you look at the grand scheme of things, it was another good day for the Pelicans today because the Grizzlies lost again. The Spurs lost today as well. So now when you look at the updated standings in the West, the Grizzlies are 8th. They've lost 5 straight. They're a game ahead of Portland, who's played pretty well in the bubble and has scored the ball extremely well. And now the Pelicans and Spurs are tied 2 games back of the Grizzlies at 29 and 38. Of course, the Suns, a big win themselves last night. They're only a half game behind the Pelicans. Monty Williams doing a good job there. And the Kings, whom the Pelicans have to face twice, are only a game behind New Orleans. So it's a real cluster. Everybody in that mix realistically still has a shot.
Yeah, the thing is, you and I, Ken and Joel and fans, we can scoreboard watch because we actually can't determine what happens on that floor. As a player, I've been in that position that the players are in now, where it's coming down to the end of the season, and it's a battle for playoff positioning. And you can sit here and you can watch some of these other games, but here's the thing. If the Pelicans take care of their business, they'll be fine. If they control what they can control and worry about what they can control, they'll be fine. You have the Sacramento Kings 2 more times. You have the San Antonio Spurs on Sunday, which is a huge game. And then you have 2 Eastern Conference teams in Washington and Orlando. The schedule is very favorable for the Pelicans. Look at some of these. Look at Phoenix's schedule, and look at Memphis's schedule. Look at some of these other teams have very, very difficult schedules for the remainder of these playing games. The Pelicans, their schedule is very favorable. So control what you can control, and you'll be good to go.
Going into it, I think we all felt that they'd have to win at least 5 to be able to get to the play-in spot at the very least. And if they got 6, they would definitely be in. When they lost their first 2, that kind of put them behind the proverbial 8 ball. But again, despite how poorly they played against the Clippers, and it was worth noting that they played that poorly because you give it an honest analysis, they were still okay because of what you just said. The schedule remaining is one that they can clearly navigate, and now I think it looks pretty good. They've got to go out and do it. Look, no excuses at this point, and they don't have to worry about what anybody else does. If they go out and beat Sacramento twice and beat the Spurs and beat Washington, who's a truly awful team at this point, well, they're in a great spot.
Right. You're dealing with teams that Sacramento isn't healthy. They're without one of their best young players in Marvin Bagley. The San Antonio Spurs are without LaMarcus Aldridge and Bryn Forbes. The Washington Wizards are without Bradley Beal, they're without Davis Bertans, and they're without John Wall. And the Orlando Magic just had Jonathan Isaac. He just tore his ACL a couple days ago. So you're facing teams that are undermanned and aren't healthy. And this is a team right now where, in a time of the season, where you want to be playing your best basketball. You don't want to peak in February. You don't want to peak in March. You want to peak right now at the end of the season heading into the playoffs. This is when you want to be playing your best basketball because of the opportunity that's ahead of you to get to the 8th spot or even the 9th spot as far as the playing game is concerned.
Visiting with Antonio Daniels and talking about the New Orleans Pelicans, 260-1061 to join us. With regard to the way New Orleans played against Memphis, I thought the obvious was everybody wants to talk about Zion, and we'll do that. But to me, it was their defense, and it started with Drew Holiday and the job he did on Ja Morant. The numbers are the numbers. Yes, Morant took a lot of threes and missed them, but the fact of the matter was that Holiday just did a great job against him, and he had some help. Now, their help defense, I thought, was very good, and they took away what he wants to do, which is get to the rim as much as possible and prevented transition. But the fact of the matter is that, look, Holiday is such a solid all-around player. He's not one of the greatest players in the league because he's never going to be that electrifying guy. He's never going to score the ball at 25 or 30 a game consistently. He's just going to do everything solidly. But it all starts with his defense. He's truly one of the elite defensive guards in the league. And against Morant, that showed. And that's one of the reasons that this is a good matchup for the Pelicans.
Well, the thing that Drew did yesterday or 2 days ago is he never allows Ja Morant the opportunity to get comfortable. And in this league, if you give these guys who are extremely skilled and extremely smart and have a very high basketball IQ, if you give them a steady diet of anything, they'll start to pick you apart. And if you watch the way that Drew navigated screens defensively, he kept Ja Morant, even though Ja Morant was on offense, he kept him on the defensive because he had no idea what Drew was doing. Sometimes he would go over the screen. Sometimes he would go under the screen. Sometimes he would push him to the screen. Sometimes he would push him away from the screen. So, and you made a great point touching on the help defense. In this league, it's never about one guy individually. That one guy may be great on the ball, but you need Derek Favors. You need Jackson Hayes. You need Zion Williamson. You need these guys to be in position to build a wall against guys like Ja Morant. And it started out with Drew Holiday. I felt like he did an excellent job of setting the tone defensively, and guys kind of got on board. There are certain things in this league that are contagious. Optimism is contagious. Energy is contagious. That ball is contagious. Unselfishness is contagious. And the mindset that Drew Holiday approached the game with, defensive energy and tenacity, is contagious as well.
When your stars play like stars in crunch time, that's what separates winners from losers. And the thing that was most noticeable to me in that game in the fourth quarter was, first of all, both stars were on the floor, and I'm talking about Ingram and Williamson. But secondly, they scored 17 of the final 18 points this team scored. Their stars stepped up when it mattered most. They played like stars, and there was no way they were going to lose as a result.
Zion makes a huge difference. And I'm not telling you or anybody that's listening anything that they don't know. But this is the first game since March that you can go back to that he's actually finished the basketball game. And when you have him on the floor, you just talked about it. Stars need to be stars during star time. Star time is at the end of the game. And when Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson, when you have both of those guys on the floor, two of your young stars and futures of the franchise, you put yourself in a much different and more optimistic position as far as finishing the game is concerned. Zion is a playmaker. He is a playmaker around the rim. And him and Brandon Ingram did an excellent job in this game of playing off of one another. So when you took away one option, the other option was Zion. And I like how B.I. did not kind of pull back. I like how he continued to stay aggressive offensively because an aggressive B.I. is contagious to everyone else. So now, and having Zion in the game at the end of the game, that builds confidence. When you see that front line out there, when I have an all-star in Brandon Ingram and a future all-star in Zion Williamson, these guys are going to make plays to win the game. But being a young, inexperienced team, this is something that they have to learn. So these reps are really, really good as far as experience is concerned.
The other notable, and of course this was nothing new, we saw it prior to the break for the pandemic, and that is the chemistry between Lonzo Ball and Zion Williamson. I think that Ball is a different player than he was early in the season for a couple of reasons. One, he's healthier. He wasn't totally healthy early in the year. But two, he has Williamson now. And the connection they have is unmistakable. One makes the other better. I don't think there's any doubt that they have not only great chemistry, but they have a great future together.
In the first two games, what you saw out of Lonzo Ball is not that's not the Lonzo Ball we become accustomed to seeing. And what helps Lonzo is having a guy out there whose skill set and ability complement his skill set and ability. So Lonzo is a looker first and a passer first. And Zion is a runner and a finisher. They are a match made in heaven for one another. You know, you have certain guys whose skill set, like, man, these two are perfect together. This is a perfect combination. And because of the way that Lonzo plays, because he wants to pass as opposed to score, guys are going to run for him because they know if they run and there's an opportunity to get a basket, Lonzo's going to put the ball right where it needs to be. He made two fantastic passes in that game. The half-court lob to Zion and the almost full-court pass that he threw to Drew Holiday, which was almost like Drew Brees'. It was right over the shoulder, on time, on target for a three-point play. Not very many point guards in the league can make that pass. But I feel like when Lonzo's out there and he knows he has his full array of weapons, and Brandon Ingram and Drew Holiday and J.J. Redick and Zion Williamson and Jackson Hayes and Josh Hart, when this team is healthy, I feel like that makes Lonzo even more confident because of the options that he has around him.
With the rest of the team, and you look at the way they are performing right now, Ingram is exactly what you expect him to be. Derek Favors is never going to be a finisher. He's always going to defend and rebound and do the right things and set high screens, which he's done. Josh Hart's I call him the Energizer Bunny. I mean, ever since I laid eyes on him, he plays that way, man. I know I listen to you all the time, and I hear your reference to him. The kid plays full out from the second he steps on the floor, and it's contagious. And he's fun to watch. He's one of my two favorite players on the team because of the way he plays the game. J.J. Redick has been the consummate pro, giving you exactly what you need from him: consistent scoring and solid decision making for them. You know, Uncle Lee, when he gets a chance to play, does a solid job, and you know, of course, Nikhil has to wait, and so does Frank Jackson by and large. Jackson Hayes fills the minutes he has with the energy, which is what he must bring on a regular basis. And then there's Nico Melli, who's been a little bit unusual. Prior to the break, he was playing very well, I thought, on both ends. That's really not been the case since coming back. And, you know, he missed quite a few shots in one game, and now he looks to be hesitant. He's had open looks 3 or 4 times where he didn't take the shot, and that's kind of what he's in there for. Is it a lack of confidence? And I'm sure that they're pushing him to take those shots, right?
Yeah, but, you know, it's different because, you know, confidence is the most important thing that you have as a professional basketball player. And you just brought up a great point. When the season was postponed, Nico was playing great basketball. But then you take a 4-month hiatus, and now you have to return again. And in your rookie year, it's different. It's different. This is still an adjustment for him. Even though he's not as confident as he was, he's still in a better place than he was when his season first started because the game has slowed down for him. Now there's so much more that he understands about the NBA game that he didn't understand about the NBA game in October. It's just going to become a point for him where he has to find that stroke again. So it's going to be one of these games like it was in Detroit where he hits some shots. You know, he hits 4 or 5 shots, hits a couple threes, makes a couple plays off the dribble, and then his confidence will be back where it needs to be. But when you're not, you know, you're not yourself yet, you know, you're struggling to see that ball go in, that's what brings the hesitation along. But because of his ability to shoot that basketball, and again, he's another player whose skill set complements Zion because his ability to play the 5 or put Zion at the 5 and Nico at the 4, vice versa, but Nico stretches the floor. But it's imperative that he get that confidence back to shoot that basketball. But as a player, you got to see that ball go down a couple times. And you said it, he's missed a couple shots that he may ordinarily make. So one of these games coming up here soon, maybe as soon as tomorrow, we're going to see Nico find that stroke again, and with that stroke again, confidence will soon follow.
2 coaches splitting Coach of the Year. Mike Budenholzer, of course, the Bucks have had the best record in the league most of the year. And Billy Donovan with the Thunder, and I get that completely because I don't think anybody saw this coming with the Thunder. They're, 16 games over, and they got a lead on the Lakers by 7 at halftime right now. Budenholzer deserves it with what they've done in Milwaukee, and Donovan really deserves it with what they've been able to accomplish in Oklahoma City to this point.
You know, for me, for SiriusXM, we had to pick our are coaches of the year. And I had Taylor Jenkins with Memphis number 1. I had Billy Donovan at number 2. You know, I feel like what Taylor Jenkins has done in Memphis should be applauded. You have to look at what a team added, and I looked at what a team added and what a team lost. The Oklahoma City Thunder, they lost Russell Westbrook, who was Oklahoma City, who was the face of that franchise. They lost Paul George. They lost 2 guys in Oklahoma City that had era after their name. And they lost their most athletic player in Jeremy Grant. And you add Chris Paul, you add Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and you add Danilo Gallinari. Like you said, none of us expected them to be there. But Taylor Jenkins in Memphis added 2 rookies. He added Ja Morant and Brandon Clark, and that team right now sits at the 8th spot in the playoffs. That's incredible. And he should be applauded for the job that he's done. Now, Coach Bud, who coached me in San Antonio and who's a dear friend of mine, the reason that I'm not on board with Coach Bud being Coach of the Year is because he has last year's reigning MVP. He has last year's reigning MVP. He also has an All-Star, and this team last year had the best record in the NBA. So we kind of expected Milwaukee to be where they are now. We did not expect Memphis to be where they are now, nor did we expect the Oklahoma City Thunder to be where they are now. Not taking anything away from Bud, but Taylor Jenkins in Memphis deserves some credit for the job that he's done, as does Billy Donovan.
Makes sense. When regard to the MVP award, I would imagine you probably go the way of Giannis. LeBron has to be strongly considered, but when you look at what Milwaukee's done, when you look at what Giannis has done, I couldn't go against him at this stage. With all respect to James Harden and even a guy like Luka Doncic, who's been really good, I'd have to go with Giannis once again. Your thoughts?
Me too. I feel like LeBron is the best player on the planet, but Giannis is the MVP. The same way, I feel like Zion Williamson is the best rookie, but Ja Morant is the Rookie of the Year. Because if you look at the numbers across the board, you look at collectively as a team, Milwaukee has the league's best record. Giannis, as you put these two head-to-head, Giannis and LeBron, Giannis has points, rebounds, blocks, defensive efficiency, offensive efficiency, PER, all of the numbers and all of the advanced numbers trend in the direction of Giannis. Now, the only thing that trends in the area or direction of LeBron James is age. And if you can give me a reason outside of LeBron's age and the assists, because he's done a fantastic job at 35 years old, completely recreating himself and becoming a facilitator. So I give him all the credit in the world. But you can't give a guy an MVP because he's doing what he's doing at that age. Giannis has done nothing this season to relinquish that MVP to LeBron James.
Totally agree. And final thought, you've got the back-to-back here starting tomorrow, Sacramento, Washington. Do you parcel minutes any differently because of that, given the nature of not having as much prep time and the interruption of the season, or do you just play it out and play your guys 35 minutes or more and try to win the game and worry about tomorrow?
Ken, it's winning time. You know, right now, this is not an ordinary back-to-back. And what I mean by that is it's not like this is not the back-to-back that you are going to play. Tomorrow's game is at 12:30. So you're not going to play and then go get on a plane and then fly across the country and play somewhere else. So after the game at 12:30, you're back in your room by 3 o'clock. So now you get a chance, an opportunity to lay down, rest, relax. This is a different back-to-back. And I think you have to take every game for what it's worth right now. You can't afford to say, we're going to save a guy for Washington or we're going to save a guy for San Antonio. Because if you're saving guys and you're dropping games, that's eventually going to come back to haunt you because basically every game now is you need to approach with a must-win mentality. The mentality that they approach that Memphis game with is the same exact mentality they need to have tomorrow when they face the Sacramento Kings, and then when they face the Washington Wizards, and then when they face the San Antonio Spurs, and then moving forward. Like every game is a must-win. You can't afford to worry about resting or, we have a rested guy for a couple games. It's winning time right now. This is the most important time and part of the season.
That's why he's such a good analyst. I absolutely would concur with your thoughts of not having to travel, playing an early game, and then a little bit later the next day. It makes all the sense in the world. And with all due respect to the Wizards, that if you're going to have a back-to-back, that's about as good as you can hope for the
That's
second
right.
opponent, right?
That's right. But the thing you don't want to do is take care of Sacramento and then go into Washington and be complacent, understanding they're without Bradley Beal and they're without
Yep.
John Wall, they're without Davis Bertans. Like, there's a lot of guys on that roster. If you're not a passionate and avid basketball or NBA fan, you might not even know. Rui Hachimura is their rookie. Ish Smith may be the best player on that roster right now, who was a longtime backup here in New Orleans. Like, these are games that you have to get. There are no excuses for dropping games like this. So you can't come out against Sacramento tomorrow and be flat. You can't come out against Washington and look past Washington and think about the San Antonio Spurs, because these guys right now that are in this bubble are playing extremely hard. They're playing for their livelihood. They're playing for future contracts. We just saw Brooklyn beat Milwaukee yesterday. You know, and I know that Giannis didn't play 30 minutes, but, you know, it can happen. It can happen. So you need to approach all these games with a must-win mentality. That is incredibly important moving forward.
We're going to find out just how mature this team is in the process, because I think that's a big part of this. I think they're plenty good enough to win every game left. It's a matter of maturity and consistency, and we'll see where this team is in that regard. And I think the increased minutes for Zion will definitely matter. You can follow him on Twitter at ADaniels33. That's ADaniels33. Antonio Daniels, as good as it gets in the industry. God bless you. Keep up the great work, and we'll be watching tomorrow afternoon.
Thank you, brother. It's always good to talk to you, Ken.
All right, Antonio, thank you.